It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show. This is segment B, Bravo segment, and this is March 11th. It's a Tuesday. I mention that because a lot of people don't realize we actually do this as a live radio show between 7 and 8 o'clock every morning, Monday through Friday. That's Central time for you people who listen outside of the St. Louis area. And it's interesting. Sometimes I look at the streaming things, and it's amazing how many people outside the St. Louis area listen to this. I guess that's all your lobbyist friends who are mad at me, right, John?
Oh, they're not mad at you. And thanks to everybody yesterday for sharing the show. We had, we don't come on here and brag about traffic, but we had tremendous views yesterday, and we had great views on Saturday. Brad, on Saturday, I did something I usually don't do. I usually post the shows the day of, but on Saturday, I posted the shows on my Twitter and on my Instagram on Saturday, and we had more people listen to the show on Saturday than we even did on Friday. So that's a little unique quirk there, Brad, that shows the power of Twitter and Instagram. So thanks to everyone for listening and sharing the show.
See, what's interesting is the world sort of works in this two-segment, Monday through Friday, first segment, and Saturday and Sunday, weekend segment. And I had a meeting with someone last week who was in the radio business, and I said to them, I'm going to throw you a curve because I will tell you when the most people listen to radio, and it's not what you think. And he instinctively said, well, it's morning and afternoon drive. I go, no, it's Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. That is the most listened to segment, or listened to day part, as we call it in radio business, of radio. And he went, well, how's that? And I said, think about this for a minute, especially when it gets into spring and summer and fall, especially spring. What happens on Saturday between 10 and 3? If you are a parent, you're taking your kids to soccer practice or baseball practice.
Absolutely, all day long.
Right. You're driving to the store to get some plants for your front yard, or you're doing this. Look at the traffic on Manchester. Look at the traffic on Highway K in St. Charles County. Look at the traffic down in Jefferson County. Look at the traffic. For example, in the city, they're lined up to do the drive-by shootings on Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. They wake up. They actually go to bed early on Friday night so they can do their drive-by shootings on Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So, okay. I went to the citizens, who are these, or Francis Howell Families. I went to their website once, and I guess they captured my email. I don't remember signing up for anything. I'm now on their email list, okay? I get this email. Dear Brad, they can steal our signs, but they can't steal this election. You know about this story?
I've seen it on social media, or I've seen it. I believe Mark Cox had someone running for school board on, and they did the whole "they're stealing our signs" thing.
Second paragraph. In the past few days, one massive 8x4 sign, massive, okay, put that next to a billboard, and it's like nothing. You know what I mean? 8x4 is nothing. Yeah. But to them, it's massive. 8x4 sign. And 3 4x4 signs supporting Randy Cook and Ashley Sturm have been stolen, and that's highlighted. Signs that cost hundreds of dollars to replace. This isn't just vandalism. It's a blatant attempt to silence our voices and support voters' awareness. Okay, Francis Howell Families, you can't steal radio. There's nobody who's walking around grabbing the radio waves out of the air so they don't come into your radio. The stupid yard sign thing, I will never understand this. It's the political thing. You know what I think it is, John?
What is it?
As far as men are concerned, this is the big D syndrome. If you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, John?
Oh, yeah. So go into, you're talking about like a guy that the cliche is he would drive a big, giant SUV or truck to overcompensate for lack of size in other areas.
Right. And if you go to the shooting range, everybody else is shooting like, 38s and 9mm. This guy shows up with a Desert Eagle 50. You know what I'm saying? He's got to show up. He's got the biggest gun on the range. I will never understand this yard sign thing. I will never get it. And
yeah, I will, because when people drive by a big sign on a frequent basis, they recognize it, right? You're an advertising guy. I mean, wouldn't you say, Brad, in your most honest view, that yard signs could be one component of an advertising campaign?
No, here's my problem, John. My problem is this carves out, to me, a niche essentially a legal niche for politicians that doesn't exist for anybody else. If
So
I were
tell your real estate example sign story, Brad.
Well, no. If I were to go out and let's say I had 100 signs made up for Westplex Talk, okay, and I just started sticking them, especially if I did it in St. Peter's, the St. Peter's sign Nazi would go pick them up. You can't have a sign promoting. It's right away. You can't have a sign there. But yet these politicians can do whatever they want because of the fact. Why? Because it's in their best interest to put in yard signs. I think it's unfair. And not only that, I think that this the Francis Howell, they're belly, oh, he lost these hundreds of dollars of signs. Okay. Tough noogies, dude. This is the real world. People are stealing your yard signs. What are you going to do? You going to hang a ring camera on them so that you can find out who stole it? Then there's
put an air tag on them. That's what I would do.
Well, the only problem with that is, what would happen? The air tags would end up like in Sauget or something like that. They go,
yeah, they sure would. So this is your pitch, Brad, by the way, to point out that yard signs suck. As a fantastic Suno song once told us, yard signs suck and they pollute the landscape, and people should do radio instead, because with radio, you play it, it's gone forever, and you don't see it every day. But if you ran radio ads every day, you could hear them every day.
And the part of this is, what's sad about this is, Mark Cox has these people on all the time. How much money they spent with 97.1? I would say not much, if any. And
so isn't that a testament to Mark Cox doing the right thing? And he's not just saying, hey, I'm only going to have you on if you're advertising. He's saying, I'm going to have you on because you're right for the Francis Howell School District.
Well, look, I don't know Mark Cox all that well. I've said before, he's an excellent morning show guy. He does a great job, and you agree with that because you link to him all the time. He has very good guests. He's a very good interviewer, but he's Mr. Conservative, okay? And I want to say right up front, I'm Mr. Libertarian. Sometimes the super conservatives sort of drive me nuts. You know what I mean? There's we don't want this, but yet, and see, the interesting thing about that is that what's happened is the political ideologies have flip-flopped, because the liberals, if you say the guy's very liberal, doesn't that mean he's open to pretty much anything? If someone says he has very liberal sexual views, doesn't that mean he's down for just about anything, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, and in the classical term, particularly in British politics, liberal would mean so you're right about that.
Yes. So, but the liberals, for the most part, the ones that you can't say this, you can't say that, blah 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 blah, and the conservatives are, to a certain extent, they're saying, well, we want to be able to say whatever we want within reason, and I don't know.
Now they are all advertising on KDHX, which is why KDHX is in such good financial shape. Because every school board candidate across the region wants to be on KDHX.
Have you heard anything past they were supposed to have that big Tuesday meeting, which was like a couple of weeks ago this Tuesday?
Yeah, it was the top headline on STL Today all day yesterday.
Oh, I didn't even see it. What's the deal? Did they blow it up or something like that?
They filed for bankruptcy. Yeah.
Did they file for bankruptcy?
Yep.
God, that's so sad.
They did. Yep. The headline is, it's the top story at STL Today. St. Louis radio station KDHX files for bankruptcy amid continued chaos.
John, C segment coming up. Can I give my dissertation of what's wrong with the media? Can I give my dissertation in C segment?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I have a follow-up question for you, because I know a couple of weeks ago you met up with John Beck, and I've teased you about that.
Yeah.
But with John Beck, does he think that radio is still alive, or does he see a path forward for anybody to make money in radio?
Do you want me to
or has he pretty much accepted reality that radio's dead?
Do you want me to be totally honest about John Beck?
Yeah.
I will tell you my view of John Beck. John Beck is a guy who just doesn't want to roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, yeah.
He's a proponent of radio, but he's a proponent of big corporate radio. He's a proponent because his entire life he's worked in big corporate radio. The company that bought Keishi back in 1984 when he came into St. Louis was Emmis, which was at one point in time was a big monster radio entity, owned stations in New York City, actually owned the Seattle Mariners for a while, baseball team. And then Emmis fell apart. The guy who ran Emmis decided it was time to get out of the radio business, sold all the radio stations. Then John ends up with the J3 crew, and he was going to roll up his sleeves and get dirty. But then he decided he didn't want to get his hands dirty, and he got this job offer from iHeart. Now he's essentially working as a lobbyist for the Missouri Broadcasters Association. My pitch to John Beck was, and he sort of looked at me like Brad, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. My pitch to John Beck was, and we've talked about this on this station before, that there is no path for young people in a lot of the electronic media, radio, television, okay? And I'll give you a perfect example. If you go to Rankin Technical School, let's say one of your kids in 10 years grows up and wants to go to Rankin Tech, and they want to they want to learn HVAC. They want to learn how to do HVAC, and they successfully graduate from Rankin Tech, which is an excellent organization, by the way. And they put in air conditioning systems for 10 years, and then they say, you know what? I'm tired of working for Jim, who owns Jim's Heating and Cooling. I'm going to start my own HVAC company. He goes out and buys himself a pick-em-up truck, buys some tools, buys some gauges, and he's in business for himself. Okay, I want to do the same thing in the radio business. And what I proposed to John was the Missouri Broadcasters Association should come up with some kind of funding for upstart radio operators, young people who decide, you know what, I've worked in the radio business for 10 years, I'm 30 now, I want to buy my own station. If you go to a bank and talk to them about buying a radio station, after they get done laughing and after you get done having your butt hit by the door on the way out as they throw you out of the bank and you hit your head on the concrete sidewalk and you think about calling Brown and Crouppen, then you think, well, I guess I don't want to buy a radio station. John just sort of looked at me and nodded, and nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And that's the sad part of what I think John is. John's a corporate guy. John wants to rub elbows with the Zimmers and the people like that. And he doesn't want to have anything really to do with me. How's that for being honest, John?
Wow, that's very straightforward, Brad. Wow.
And
I mean, and first of all, Brad, I'm going to take your side on every issue like this in real life. To play devil's advocate, if you're John, don't you think, look, I worked in radio a long time. I'm not going to roll up my sleeves. I earned the right to just sit here and be a retired guy that's paid once in a while to do consulting. I'm not going to mess with the people. I'm not going to mess with the Brad Hildebrands who want to go do something because I'm past that. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, John Beck, I would say, is in his 70s, okay? And I'm not trying to out him. He probably admit what his age is. Okay, how old's our president of the United States right now, John? How old is he?
He's in the 70s.
Okay, did he one day say, hey, I ran for office, I never won in 2016, but then I lost in 2020. It's time for me to roll up my sleeves and do nothing. No, he has a fire in his belly. He has a motivation. He's moving forward. He's trying to make a difference not in St. Louis radio, not in the state of Missouri, not in the United States. He's trying to make a difference in the world, okay? He's 77 years old, okay? This goes along with my thing. The number one cause of death in the United States is retirement, okay? John, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a funny story. From time to time, it happened again just last week. From time to time, I will have churches who will send me a nice little email. Hey, we would like to run some commercials on your station for a sausage breakfast or something, whatever they're doing. And I know, because Shelley does this all the time. Shelley says, we got contacted by XYZ Church. They want to run some ads. And I go, well, they want to run the ads for free. They don't want to pay. Oh, no, they're willing to pay. Okay, fine, send me the email. So I respond back to them. I send them the rate card. And then they respond back, oh, we don't want to pay. We want to have your ads for free.
Because they're a nonprofit.
Right, they're a nonprofit. And you know, and this is like the fourth time I've done this. Okay, maybe fifth time. And I said, okay, I'll trade you ads. I will run ads. I will let you run ads in my station if you let me do the Sunday morning service. I want to preach Sunday morning. And guess what happens?
They never take you up on that offer.
Either one of two things. I never hear another thing from them, or they get pissed. Why? We wouldn't allow you to do our Sunday morning service. Why not? Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give my sermon on retirement. Once again, there is no.
And then you can point to John Beck about
Right.
it. Yeah.
There is the word retirement. If you can search there's got to be the Bible online with, the searchable database, the whole bit. Search the word retire or retirement in the Bible. It's not there, because you know why it's not there? It's ungodly. Jesus didn't one morning wake up and go, I've done all these miracles. I saved Mary Magdalene. I'm going to retire. I'm going to do whatever I want to do all day long. No, he went to his death trying to change, trying to make the world a better place. Never once did he say, it's time for me to retire. I've done my work for so many years. I'm going to get my pension. I'm just going to sit around and watch Wheel of Fortune reruns. No, he busted his butt every damn day of his life. And we still pay homage to him, whatever you want to say, because of the fact that he was on this earth and he did these things. That's my sermon, and they won't let me give it.
Don't you think retirement is healthy for people, though, Brad?
No, it's terrible.
Don't you think that, like, when people retire, don't you think generally at a certain age their health improves when they stop working?
John, my parents, this is probably why I'm more adamant about this than most people. My parents went off the deep end after they retired.
Did they really?
Oh, I mean, they once again, my dad, my mom was in education. My dad was a civil engineer. What did they do? And nothing against them, but their retirement, you know what they did once a week, which was to me, and I look back on this and I will say in public right now, I'm sad that I never took it up on them. They went to Scott Air Force Base once a week. That was their.
And they watched the airplanes.
No. My dad was retired Army. He was, he was 4 years active duty in World War II, and retired as a captain in the reserve. So he had base privileges at Scott Air Force, and he went over there to one of the doctors. But that was their big excitement. They went through the PX. They went and they had lunch wherever they had lunch at, stuff like that. Okay, I felt sorry for him. I felt sad because of the fact that how exciting is that to go to an Air Force base every stupid week, and the sad thing for there is my mom and dad became, less engaged with the world. My dad watched a lot of TV. My mom, did weird stuff. I'll be honest, my mom was sort of a weirdo. Maybe that's where I get it. And I watched them decline after they retired. I hated to see it. But
don't you have other people? Don't you have other people in their life, like whose husbands might have retired and then they got healthier?
No, it never goes that way. They get worse, because then what happens is they retire and they play pickleball and they blow out their knees. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I do know that. Yeah, but then they can go to Harpo's and drown their sorrows, Brad.
You walked right into that one. Okay, John. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the media next break, okay? And by the way, let's talk about the mighty midgets. You know what I'm talking about? This is a topic you don't know about.
Yeah, that was on St. Louis Public Radio. Will Bauer had that piece from Illinois. I didn't read the story, but I saw the headline.
Okay, all I can say is your team mascot can't be the mighty midget in Illinois, but in Indiana you can have a pissed off little leprechaun dude be your what do you call it, mascot, and that's okay. What's wrong with that picture? You know what I'm saying?
I know.